And we have Brian from Illinois here, and Sarah from Missouri, and Elizabeth from Texas. So we're going to get started right into it. I'm going to ask all of you just very quickly to tell everybody, maybe take a minute or two, tell everybody about your business, how long you've been in business, how long you've been with EXP, and what your production looks like. So why don't we go ahead and start with Miss Riley.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. I'm Elizabeth Riley. I'm in Austin, Texas. I have been in the business almost 15 years. May of this year will be 15. I was with Keller Williams for the first 10. And this year I'm very excited because in May I will be with EXP 5 years. I am an individual agent. I build my business by referral only. And last year I did just under 20 million. Personally, did you say personally or just professionally, Steph?
Go for it, personally.
Personally, I'm a mom of 4, and they make up my team Riley. And yeah, that's about it.
All right, thank you, Sarah.
Hi everyone, my name's Sarah Freitag. I know Freitag throws everyone for a loop once in a while, but I live in Southwest Missouri on Table Rock Lake. I have been with EXP just a little over a year. I've been in the business about 10 years now. I primarily work lake homes and a lot of rural property, and this company is fabulous.
Thank you for being here. And Brian, can you tell everybody a little bit about your business?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. My name is Brian Ernst. I've been in real estate for 17 years now. I've been with EXP for a little bit over 2 years. I've closed well over 1,000 deals in my career. Most of the time, it's either by myself or myself with another agent working together, usually a small team setup. And yeah, the past, I don't know, past 4 or 5 years, probably averaged about doing about 100 deals a year, something like that. And excited to be here today.
Well, thank you guys. So let's talk about, I just came from the gym. I wrote an offer this morning and I couldn't go right away. And then I went to the gym because I had to fit it in. So that leads me to, what is the one thing you have to do every day that's a priority, that is a must in your business? For me, it's health. I have to get that in, and everything else falls into place. Brian?
Oh, I only get one thing. Is that all I get?
Well, you can elaborate on a few, but like if you didn't do anything else, what is the one thing you have to do that would make your business successful?
Well, I just got to make sure my lead generation sources are in place. That's the main thing. Every day, making sure they're in place and that they're working so that everything else takes place from there. So on the business side of it, yeah. The personal side of it, yeah, the health that's the personal side. But the business side, making sure my lead generation sources are in place, that is the number one thing.
And what does that look like? So like, let's say on an average day, on a Monday morning, what does that lead gen look like?
So it's going to look like a combination of things, because I really believe that you need to have at least 3 lead generation sources. And at times I have well more than that, but some of them we're just testing out. So some of it could be everything from geographic farming. Some of it could be, literally picking up the phone, doing circle prospecting on things, setting up open houses, just getting out there in so many different ways. And we do a lot of different marketings pieces too, a lot of online presence, just to make sure that we're out there. So making sure everything's up and running, it's kind of like just trying to make sure that all the fires are put out in the morning.
All right, great. What about you, Sarah? What's the one thing that you have to get done to be successful?
Well, I am an individual agent, and I'm a big time list maker, and I'm a good time vision board person. So first thing in the morning, I get up and I see what I need to get accomplished that day to reach my goals for the week. And I break my goals down smaller ranges. I know what needs to get done every week to get me to that goal at the end of the year. So that's really my main focus, and that varies from day to day, whether it's lead gen or working on contracts or whatever it is I need to do. It's just I keep all that in front of me all the time, so it's constant, right there, front of mind, and that's what I try and focus on.
So Sarah, do you believe in like goal boards, and what do you do to to set your goals so that everybody here that's listening, since that's important, what's one tip you can give them? I don't know if it is a goal board or writing it down or having an accountability partner.
It is a goal board. So my market, I'm not in a huge metropolis. The county that I work in, we have a total of about 35,000 population. So I have a very small area. My area is a little bit different from everyone else. So I know what I have to do basically every month to reach my goal to hit ICON. And that's one of the ways I did it last year, because I was just so determined that was what I was going to do. So I try and take on at least 3 contracts a week, and I figure out how I'm going to get there. And that may be either a buyer or a new listing contract, or one of my listings has a contract on it. But that's my goal every week. And I usually don't quit until I've reached whatever it is I've set for that week. So it's just mainly staying on top of everything and just keeping up with it.
And what about you, Elizabeth? What's the one thing that you have to do every day? I probably know a little bit of what you do because you're very, very much into relationships and all of that. But what's the one thing that sets you up for success every day?
So I'm going to be up here, and I'm going to be the one that does not have it all together, and I'm failing forward on a daily basis. One thing I'm trying to do in 2020 is actually get that process in place. My days are always very, very different because I have 4 little ones and because my husband travels all the time. And so the first thing I have to do, as long as I get everybody up and out the door, then I'm set for success. Most days I don't have a chance to shower. That's another reason I love eXp Realty. But I will come into my office, and I'm like Sarah. I'm a list maker as well. I stay up at night and my mind just races, so I have to put things on the list, whether I'm writing it down next to my bed or putting it on my phone, because if I'm one of those people that if it's not off my list or out of my head, it'll keep me up at night. So I'm just going through my day to day. I always joke that I take my days in 15-minute increments. But that's what works for me. I just have to know what's going on. And if I can just keep going through that list, then I can get everything else to fall into place.
And I love the honesty, because for everyone listening, it just shows that there are different paths to success. Nobody's is going to look alike. There is no, you have to do this to succeed. I'll tell you one thing I've been doing this year that I'm loving, and I started it a little bit last year, is I'm making sure I take one person out to lunch every week and breaking bread. And that's been an enhancement, not only in my business, but in my personal life. So I've been enjoying that a lot. And so since we're talking about success, let's talk a little bit about your lead generation, or how you're getting business. So many agents, and I know even I sit here sometimes and wonder, well, how did they get that? So let's go back to Sarah. How do you achieve those clients? What are you doing to attract or chase, or however it works for you? What are you doing to get business?
Well, I try not to chase business as much as I did when I first started out. A lot of my business is from past clients. I'm in a very small area, so I'm pretty well known. Um, as far as buying leads and all that repertoire, it varies from place to place. I do actually buy a few leads. I do not spend a lot of money on it. And I think you have to really analyze your market to see, it really depends on what you want to do. So if it makes sense in your area, that's one way that you can go about it. Social media is another huge deal in our area. But it's kind of a race, just getting your name out there so you can stay in touch with your past clients and referrals from those people as well.
Thank you, I'm sorry, Brian, what about you? What are you doing to obtain business?
The main stuff that we're doing in business, to obtain business, is geographic farming. That's really what we work on with my team, and that's a constant process to make sure that we are all on the same page and make sure everything's up and running. And it's really putting everything into a system. That's what I'm always constantly trying to do. Can I put this into a system where it's set, scheduled? It's plug and play type of thing on certain things, but it's not always that easy. So I'm constantly trying to figure out how can I put this in a set system that moves on. I don't have to worry about that particular setup, but I'm constantly checking on those types of things. So it's kind of a mindset more than anything. And I'm also testing out new lead generation sources on a regular basis to see what's out there, see what works, what doesn't work. So I'm always trying new things too.
So you mentioned geographic farming, and I'm sure some people out there are like, okay, what do you do for that? So can you give us an example or two of what you're doing? Are you circle dialing? Are you door knocking? Are you sending postcards? What does that look like?
Well, we do direct mailings. We're in a lot of different newsletters too. We do circle prospecting, do quite a bit of that also. I have different advertisements in the same geographic area too. Everything from, like shopping carts. I wouldn't say I get any business from it, but it doubles up on things. Got my car wrapped. When we do open houses, we do a ton of signage out there too. So it's a lot of visibility in a small area and continuously getting in front of people in different ways each month. I try to get in front of my geographic farm at least 3 times each month that they see something about me.
That's awesome. And Elizabeth, how do you go about obtaining business for everybody here that is not familiar with your awesome systems that you have for your clients and obtaining new clients?
Thanks. Well, I don't see this as a job. I love what I do. I wake up every morning loving what I'm doing. And so if it becomes a job to me and I'm not having fun, then I have to reevaluate something. For me, my business is all marketing to my sphere and my past clients. And so all of my business comes from those avenues, whether it's my kids' schools, whether it's an organization I'm involved in. I want everybody to know what I'm doing in a passive way, but I never want them to see me and say, oh my gosh, run, there's Elizabeth. She's going to talk about real estate. So I touch my clients coming from the Keller Williams background. We always talked about the 33 touch program. And Buffini, you might be familiar with that. I don't like spending the money on Buffini because to me, it's not really relevant to all of my people. And I don't send things that are necessarily real estate related. But every year in December, I sit down with the 12 months and I plan to touch my clients and my past clients and my database 3 times a month. And I put everybody in the same group. I don't group them A, B, C, D. It just is way too confusing for me. I think that works for some people, but for me, I treat all my clients the same. And when I have a client, I want to treat them like they're my one and only. So each month I will do something different. I'll do a direct mail piece of some sort. I will do my electronic newsletter through MailChimp, which is free. And I try to do a client appreciation or an event, but I really get intentional and I sit down with them and have coffee or tea. I used to go to lunch with them, but lunches take a lot more time and can be more expensive if you're meeting with your clients all the time. But I get into conversations with them so they don't just see me as a agent, but they see me as their friend. So for some examples on my direct mail, in January, I usually will send a letter out. Last year, I just made on Canva. I do things very, very inexpensively, y'all, because they're going to just throw it all away. But in Canva, I just did a little business card style mail. It was a business card size, and I made it in Canva, and it was a $500 voucher for their clients or anybody that they wanted to refer to me. And that got a huge hit. And I just told them kind of what the market was doing and my successes from the past year. This year for January, I did a little note card that said, here's to sticking to your New Year's resolutions. And it had a checklist going back to my lists. And number 1, it said, call Elizabeth Riley in the Lux Property Group for all of your needs. And I made little Post-it notes and put those in. For February, I give out Girl Scout cookies. And March, I might do a March Madness thing. So I'm doing things that aren't necessarily real estate related, but they're seeing my name and my brand. I brand myself. I have the Lux Property Group. It looks like we're a team. We're not a team, we're individuals, but it just makes us look bigger. So I'm just getting that brand awareness out and making sure that I'm consistent in front of my clients every month.
I love it. And before I move on to another question, we have some questions. Jesse's asking, just bought a home in a new area. What would be some good ideas to farm my new neighborhood? Sign in my yard, car decals, door knocking, mailers, parties. How much is too much? Anybody have any suggestions here for Jesse?
It's your own personal neighborhood?
Sounds like it, yes.
Okay. Oh my gosh. That's so easy. I mean, you live there, you work there. You want everybody to know you as your neighbor anyway. And so for me, I don't like to door knock or cold call, but I will knock on doors if I have a reason. So if I'm wanting to get to know my neighbors, I'm in the same boat. I just moved into a new house 2 years ago. I'll go knock on my neighbors, just knock on their doors just to get to know them. But I'll do Front Porch Fridays where I'll have a table and a bunch of drinks and snacks and have everybody come and just invite everybody. It's not always branded, but I definitely have my brand in there. But do Front Porch Fridays where all the neighbors come into your yard and they get to know you. You can do movies in your front yard if you have a lot of kids. You can do all sorts of community neighborhood events, but just make sure that you position yourself as the expert. You have all the resources, get to know what businesses also live in that neighborhood. And so I always brag on my neighbors that might have a business or they might be involved in a restaurant or things like that. I want to be the human Rolodex that everybody comes to and knows everything about that neighborhood. So position yourself as the expert. And if they keep seeing you, they're going to come to you.
Brad, Sarah, any advice for Jesse?
Sure. I go in the opposite route, a lot of this stuff that Elizabeth does, but I have to say what Elizabeth does is phenomenal. I mean, Elizabeth sent me a book a while back. It's like, I'm sure you don't have this book, Brian. And it's so thoughtful what she does, especially when I can only imagine, Elizabeth, what you do in the neighborhoods of stuff with each of your neighbors and your book of business, your sphere of influence. I mean, I think that's incredible. The thoughtfulness that you put into just the little things that you do. I'm always impressed with that. And when you did that before, I was asking you about that. How'd you come up with that? And did you buy more of those books or one at a time? But I think Elizabeth, you're so thoughtful in what you do, and I really appreciate that. Um, I'm more the marketing guy. I'm more the throw everything out there, put everything on your car, put all kinds of signs, make your signs bigger than anybody else's signs. Name tags, car wraps, mailers, anything you can to promote yourself out there. That's what I have done in a whole different way because I don't think I have the charm that Elizabeth has. So that's what I have.
Sarah, any advice?
Well, what I do with my new listings is I send out a weekly newsletter to my sphere, probably like Elizabeth does with MailChimp, and that listing gets featured at the top of my newsletter. I have a mailing list of about 2,000 people, so it reaches quite a few people. And then I also do just listed postcards. And my area is not typically neighborhoods and subdivisions, so I have to approach it a little bit differently, but that's some of the things that I do.
Hey, Jesse, I have a question for you. Are there a lot of children in your neighborhood?
Yeah, there are. I just moved in right before Halloween and I had like 30 or 40 kids, so I was just thinking of different ideas to have kids over and do crafts or something and connect with families, but yes.
Well, I have two ideas for you. One, I do a ice cream social on the last day of school every year at a local park, and it's in our neighborhood. I hire the Blue Bunny truck. It costs me like $300, and we always sell out of about 165 treats. And I pay for it, of course, and that's the $300. And the park's free, so that's something. And something I've always wanted to do is get one of those. What are those called? Those little libraries. And if your house is in the right spot, you could do it. This is for anybody out there. You could do one of those little libraries and maybe wrap the little, because going on Brian's thing of wrap everything, right? Like you could do both. You could wrap that little library sponsored by whatever your name is or, whatever real estate. And you could have those little books that people could come and borrow for free. And then you have some branding out there. And then you're also, like Elizabeth does, is giving back to the community. So just a suggestion.
Well, and Jesse, I have another idea too. So we have a ton of kids in the neighborhood as well. The first day of school, or you could even do the last day of school or something like that. I'll have moms and mimosas at my house. So it's like, their hair's on fire. Mom's finally got the kids out of school or into school or whatever. And then I have everybody over at my house for moms and mimosas and just snacks and mimosa bar and all this other stuff. And this time I had about 75 people. So again, I don't talk real estate, but you're the one always planning things and being creative, and they'll start coming to you and you get to know people that way.
Thank you
So
so
Jesse,
much.
we've got some good ideas there for you to get started with. So now I want to shift a little bit. And Sarah, I'm going to start with you. When you're having like a down month, because I think you mentioned you try and shoot for 3 contracts every month. And let's say you only have 1 contract that month. What is it that you do to give yourself a little boost to try to make up for that, or to just influx your business with some more energy and some more business? And then I'll go on to Elizabeth and Brian, but let's start with you, Sarah.
Well, my husband and I are big time bass fishermen, so I usually will take some time for myself and we go fishing. I think it's very important to take care of yourself, whether it's your exercise routine or something that you enjoy. I usually just will take an afternoon and take it off and try and enjoy my day. And that really does more for me than anything, is just to take some time and rejuvenate. And then I feel like getting back into it the next day. So I just think it's really important to do that, and self-awareness, and do something that you enjoy.
Awesome. What about you, Elizabeth? If you're just having a down month, is there something that you do that helps infuse some business back into your?
I am very social, so I'll just reach out to people that fill my cup. And they're usually all my friends are in my database and sphere, and I just reach out to people. I don't ask for a business. I've been very blessed that, you know, things will come out of the woodwork, but I'm not one that follows my numbers. I don't watch my numbers. So if I'm having a down month number wise, I probably don't necessarily know it. And I'm just putting one foot in front of the other and just doing each hour as it comes. And if I'm a little slower, then I take that opportunity to really be proactive and, okay, what am I going to do for next month? What am I going to do for April? I don't let that time just sit by and lose it. I'm not good at taking care of myself. That's something that I'm trying to implement. I'm trying to get back into the gym. I'm trying to do things for me, because that's one of the first things that goes. And when I'm doing better, personally and physically, then my business seems to do better. I have more energy and things like that. But I'm just taking each day at a time. If I'm a little slower, I just use that time wisely for future opportunities, so I'm not being reactive when things pick up again.
I agree. Working on yourself is so important, and mindset. You know, I really find 80% of this business is mindset. And I listen to a lot of podcasts or a lot of books on tape, since I don't have time to physically read. That's something that I do to infuse my business, to give it a boost. Brian, what do you do to? Because I know you have a different aspect of this. You're the marketing guy. So what is it that you do to bring on a little extra business when you're in maybe a small slump?
Well, if I'm in a small slump, I think the first part I do is thoroughly freak out. I know that's probably not the best practice in the world. And then I look at my numbers, which I feel like I'm feeling devil's advocate on everything that's going here. I look at my numbers. I'm looking back at my numbers from the previous year. I'm looking at what things I implemented the previous years, going back 3, 4, 5 years. What was the market like? What was I doing for just lead generation? Um, I adjust major things within my business on a quarterly basis. Readjust everything on a quarterly basis. So I make sure that I don't pull the plug on something too soon when it takes a little bit more time to develop. There's a lot of different factors in Illinois that does kick in for, I would say, for Illinois versus some states that are a little bit warmer. If it's a colder winter, it really throws off my whole market, and sometimes just the weather throws things off. But I want to look at the numbers. I want to know, number of contacts made, number of appointments set, conversions, those types of things. So I want to look at the numbers, because the numbers really tell the story of what's going on with my business. So I'm a numbers guy, looking at what are the numbers. And yeah, I freak out way too much. Yeah, I need to get my head on straight sometimes, a lot of times. But sometimes it just gets me in a better place when I know what the game plan is. And sometimes it's just like, this is just going to be the month that it's going to be. And let's set up the next month for success and keep moving forward. So I think, Elizabeth, you and I need to talk offline here to trade. I think I need a little bit more of what you have.
Well,
Well, and I need a little bit more of what you have, but I think this is what makes this company and how we collaborate together so much. I've learned a ton from you, Brian, even before I ever met you face to face. Shannon, I meet a ton from you. Sarah, I've not met you yet, but it's really cool, because there might be bits and pieces that can make our businesses a little bit better, and we're just all willing to share.
and I love that Brian said he freaks out. Raise of hands, seriously, if you're near your computer. I know some people are just listening. How many of you thoroughly freak out? See, the hands are going up. It's everybody. I had lunch with a very successful agent in my marketplace the other day who sells like 300 homes a year. And I was feeling like I was the only one. And I said something about it. I had a very vulnerable moment. And she looked at me and she goes, I freak out all the time. And I said, I thought I was the only one. You're not alone. So I love that Brian brought it up. We all have the freak out moments. I will say what they all basically touched on was, having the mindset. And I truly believe that education, when I'm in a slump, how many of you can stay in a slump, right? Raise your hands. It's easy to stay. If you're having a bad day, it's easy to make that into 2 bad days, 3 bad days, and watch ER reruns. I'm raising my hand. And it's important that we all acknowledge that we all have them. But I think it's important that you also recognize it, let yourself have time to freak out, and then move forward. And one way to do that is through education. So I would love to ask you all, and Sarah, we're going to start with you. What kind of education do you invest in for yourself? What kind of events do you go to? Do you have any tips on the best one that you've attended?
Well, I have to say EXPCon last year was fabulous, and I actually sat in on one of Elizabeth's classes, and it was just great. EXP, I think that's one of the best investments if you can get to EXPCon and just join in on all the discussions, all the panels, anything that's going on. I've never had a coach or anything like that. I do listen to a lot of podcasts. I get on YouTube. I follow a lot of coaches, but it's just, and I like to listen to motivational speakers as well. But just get out there and invest in yourself and do what's best for you. The same thing that works for me isn't going to work for everyone else. So, and just try and do what you think is going to help you the most in your area.
Elizabeth, what about you? Any educational things that is a must for people to attend?
I agree. I agree completely with that. The EXP events I make sure I go to those. I will be sitting in the back of EXPCon 2019, and as soon as they announce it, I'll book the next one. Being at KW, nothing against KW, but I didn't get value from those. To me, it was very hard for me to go and be away from my family for that long time, and I just didn't really get anything that helped my business. With EXP, I love shareholders. I love EXPCon for sure. Hands down, X Camp is awesome. So I make it a point for those 2 times a year to go to those trainings, and just again, the camaraderie and the collaboration and the culture that we have. Otherwise, I don't do a whole lot. I teach a lot here in Austin. I try to get in when there's some of the icons teaching some great classes here, but I'm just always running. And so to step aside and really put much more effort in education when I know I can get really good education those 2 times a year, I haven't put that focus there.
Thank you. What about you, Brian?
Well, when it comes to education, I'm a big advocate of finding a program that works for you and mastering the program. I mean, within EXP, there are so many programs that you could be a part of. And I believe when the good are not doing good anymore in real estate, I don't believe they need an advanced course a lot of times. I think they need to go back to basics. And that's so important. And I think mastery is the goal, whatever it may be. So, taking a class or course here or there, my biggest advice for everybody would be to master a program. And that could be just techniques, dialogues. It could be strategies. It could be marketing techniques. There's so many things that it could come up. But for me personally, what I did to learn it at a higher level was to be able to teach it. And the retention of information, when you can teach something to somebody, it's like 99, 95% retention of information versus just taking a class. It's maybe, taking some notes and talking about with somebody, maybe it's a 10 to 20% retention of information. And education without application is just useless. So if you're not using that education, don't even waste your time with the classes. But I'm a big fan of mastering a program, whatever that may be.
I love that. And show of hands, who here is going to shareholders coming up here in, what is it, April? Anybody going here? All right, we've got some hands. So I just want to tell you just a very, very quick story. I've been with EXP. I'm going into my 4th year. I just started my 4th year. When I first came over, I didn't know anybody. And I went to the first shareholders meeting and I sat like a bump on a log in a Starbucks by myself and I hated it. I hated the shareholders thing. I thought it was dumb. I didn't get it. Y'all, it's because I had a negative mindset. I didn't plug in. And then I met some wonderful people that said, come sit with us and have a drink. And that's how I started. You have to plug in. You have to go to these events. You have to go up to somebody and just say, can I sit with you? And if you're an introvert, and I'm going to answer that question for the introvert here that asked the question, if you're an introvert, come find me. I go to these events. Go find Elizabeth and Sarah and Brian, because I promise you, they're all very nice, and you can sit with us. From the Mean Girls, right? You can't sit with us, you can sit with us. So you come find me, go sign up for the event, and we will show you the ropes. And so that's going to bring me to, somebody had a question up here. They said, everybody on the panel sounds like they're an extrovert, but they are an introvert. Any suggestions for marketing and getting out there for the introverted agent? I love this question because I find we're all so different. And I will just say what I would say to you as an introvert. You be your introverted self. Your vibe will attract your tribe, and you're going to find the people that you're supposed to be with. But Sarah, any advice for the introverted agent?
Well, honestly, I am a little introverted. I'm not really a big social person. But I would just say you're just going to have to overcome a little bit of that fear and get out there and talk to people. You can do a lot of online marketing where you're not. Videos scare me to death. I don't do videos, and I know that's something that I need to work on. So there's just ways you have to ease into it to kind of get out there a little bit and make yourself a little more well known.
Elizabeth, do you have any advice for the introverted agent?
Yeah, it's funny because I am more of an introvert than I think people think or know. I'm an extrovert when I have to be an extrovert. If I'm in an uncomfortable situation or I don't know anybody, I am not one of those people that'll walk into a room and just, meet everybody I know. Shannon, I would have been just like you, just kind of sitting in the corner. I force myself to be more social. I'm not the one that's always involved in everything. I'm very visible just because of the kids and things like that. I hate video too. But I'm trying to embrace it a little bit more when people were like, well, Elizabeth, that's how we see you anyway. So I just had to get out of my own way with that. But it's just getting to know people and being authentic and being genuine. And people are attracted to that. They're going to know who you are. They're going to trust you. People do business with those they know, like, and trust. So just be genuine and be yourself, and you're going to attract those people to you.
Brian, what about you?
A lot of people
Any
think
advice for the introverted agent?
I'm an introvert. So many people think I'm an extrovert. I'm an introvert. I struggle a lot of times having conversations with people that I don't have an intentional purpose to have with somebody. That's why I stay trained. That's why I do so much training myself, is because sometimes I just don't even know what to say if I don't have a purpose in the conversation. It's uncomfortable for me. It really is. When a lot of people are coming up to me different things, I'm challenged by that. So within real estate sales, that's always been a challenge for me. But this is how I make a living. This is how I pay the mortgage. I've gotten better through the years, but let me tell you, the first part of my sales career, I don't think I could introduce myself. I had a real hard time I didn't even introduce myself. I would just get into the conversation, whatever we were talking about. So I do struggle with that. And advice for anybody who's an introvert, I design my business, and I constantly working on redesigning my business where people come to me, where they're at least half sold or pre-sold on what I'm doing, so that they know enough about me already to get into a conversation. Because I really don't enjoy, trying to sell somebody from scratch who isn't even interested in anything that I have to offer for real estate. It's a challenge for that. So I like to make sure that they have enough stuff out there about me before I get into that. So what's my advice for introverts out there? It's going to sound silly, but just get yourself out there in other ways too. So when you finally get in a conversation with them, at least you have something to talk about.
Thank you. And what y'all might see that the thread that's running through everybody that talked here is you wouldn't have guessed a lot of them are the introverted extrovert. And I am too. Y'all, I'm known for video and I hate doing video. I hate how I look. but you have to have courage, and courage is acting in spite of fear. You have to do it anyway. You know, what is it they say about Ford? You know, you could either say it's like found on the road dead or something like that, or face everything, and, you know, and whatever the acronym is. But you have to have the courage despite the fear. And it seems like we hit a little nerve there. But Michelle or somebody said that they've only been in the company a week and a half. You come find one of us. I'm putting us all on the hot seat here, and we'll be sure to welcome you at the event. Now I'm going to switch gears just a little bit, because two people have asked about marketing spend and how much we spend on marketing. So Elizabeth, do you feel comfortable sharing a little bit about maybe what you spend, or maybe what an event costs you?
Sure. I don't spend a lot of marketing. I don't spend a lot of I don't spend a lot of money per month on marketing, and some months are a little bit more than others, but again, I'm just trying to be as effective as possible and consistent. So for me, that's the most important. It doesn't necessarily mean what it is. And sometimes they balance each other out. So like I explained in March, I do I love college basketball. And so I do my March Madness. And if you're not a big college basketball fan, that's fine. Who cares? This is free. And it's super easy, and it gets people engaged, and it gets you in front of them for free. And so go to cbssports.com, create a bracket pool, and then you can put your clients in there, or put it on social media and say, hey, I'm having this contest. Create your bracket. And then what's really cool about that is every time there's a score change, or an underdog wins, or a team is announced, something like that, during the tournament, your name and your branding is going to their email box every single time, and people are following up on that. And then what I do at the very end of the tournament, first, second, and third, I just give them a gift card. It could be a $5 gift card. It can be a $10 gift card. It doesn't have to spend a lot of money, but that's a free event that I get a ton of engagement. And a lot of my clients will say, I don't know anything about basketball. Who cares? No, I mean, that's what's so cool about March Madness. And last 2 years, girls have won that knew nothing about basketball. It's just a way to touch people and be consistent. One of my more expensive ones is Girl Scout cookies, but it also depends on how many people you have in your database, and how many people you're giving Girl Scout cookies to. What I do is I will get Girl Scout cookies. I'll put a ribbon through the top of the box in my business card, and I just put them on doors. I do that for 300 people. That gets expensive when you have Girl Scout cookies now at like $4 or $5 a piece. But I will tell you that each year I have clients calling saying, are you doing Girl Scout cookies, Elizabeth? I want Thin Mints this year. Okay, they're placing their orders with me, right? So the reason I'm doing Girl Scout cookies is for this reason. I'm very involved in the school. So I go to the troop leader. I say, give me the list of all your Girl Scouts. I'm going to buy a case of cookies from each Girl Scout. So now the school understands what I'm doing. The troop understands what I'm doing. The parents with those Girl Scouts are like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. They understand what I'm doing. And then all my clients do. So I'm touching a whole bunch of people. If you want to do something in the schools that's not 300 cookies, Girl Scouts have thanks-a-lots, which are super cool. They're the little shortbreads, and they say thanks-a-lots. And I just put stickers on there and say, thanks a lot for all you do in our schools. We love you. I'm not asking for business, but I put that in all the teachers' boxes. So it just depends on how many you want to do. I do that for everybody in my database, just not my clients. If you have 5 or 10 clients, do that. For an event, I've done I Love You a Latte, and I'll go to a coffee shop, and I will partner with one of my lenders and my CPAs, and we'll buy coffee for the first, the people that come in for the first 2 hours. When you're partnering with vendors or partners that you work with, it's not very expensive. So you just have to put some thought into it and be proactive, not reactive. And then you can limit your expenses. Vistaprint is how I print everything, just because it's really cheap. So I don't spend a ton of marketing. The most marketing dollars I spend is at Christmas time and the holidays, where I do a big donation in the name of all of my clients. But again, that's really up to what your budget is. So those are just some ideas. You don't have to spend a lot. I don't spend a lot on marketing. I spend more on taking my clients to coffee and lunch than I do marketing.
Some great ideas there. What about you, Sarah? Do you feel comfortable sharing maybe what percentage that you spend on marketing?
Well, I don't spend a lot on marketing. The one thing that I do, I have one area that's primarily a retired area. Those people love mail. I have a huge result whenever I send out mailers and flyers to that area. So I do focus a lot of my marketing on that area. I found that people in that 70 plus age range, they enjoy going to their mailbox and they do respond to my mail outs. It just goes back to knowing your market. The same tactic doesn't work in other areas of my farm. So it's just putting your marketing dollars where you see results coming in. And it's nice when someone calls me and says, hey, I just got your flyer. Can you come take a look at my house? So you just have to track and you have to know what's going to work in certain areas that you work in. But as far as marketing, I don't spend a whole lot.
Brian, what about you?
Oh, I spend way too much money on marketing. Way too much money. Um, I'm shooting for a goal of 10% of, my gross commissions earned is in marketing. A lot of times it goes way over that. And what's dangerous about marketing and the way I do it is it's monthly that I'm putting marketing out there. And if I'm not watching my numbers tight enough there, it can tank my whole year. And it has done that through my 17 years in real estate. There's been some times that I didn't cut back on marketing quick enough. So how much do I spend? Oh my gosh, 10, 15, 20 grand a month, depending on what and where it is. But it gets the results out of that. And if it doesn't get the results, I got to pull it quickly enough and put something else in place. I don't recommend this for the faint of heart. In the beginning of my career, I didn't spend a dime on marketing. I didn't have any money. I was doing open houses and looking for referrals. That was my sole way of doing business until I built up enough business where I could invest it into marketing. And a lot of times when I do marketing too, it's sometimes I'll tell everybody here, I'll do a marketing piece and maybe it's a mailer. And when I hit it approved to go out, and it's in a system, so I'm not, handing stuff off to the post office, stuff like that, like I used to. Sometimes I just kind of close my eyes and just kind of like, okay, hit return, great, let's send, let's do it, and just kind of cringe on it because I never know exactly what the results are going to be. I wouldn't encourage people to do what I do on this setup. But getting certain branding and marketing out there to your book of business, your sphere of influence, I think is absolutely crucial for repeat business, especially if you're not contacting them on a regular basis. Certain marketing pieces can really get in front of people well.
Thank you for sharing all that. It depends what you're considering marketing. I just want to give some hard numbers too. I spent $6,000 on video last year. Video is where I get a lot of my business. I was spending $2,600 on a next door passive ad, and then it occurred to me I can take that $2,600 and put it into donations to my neighborhood. I just wrote $1,000 check yesterday for the new swing set that they're trying to put in, and it'll have my name and my business on the bench. And then, I do tchotchkes for the fashion show that they have, and the Moms Club. I put money there. I took the moms. I rented a van, and I took 14 moms to a wreath making thing. That's what I'm using that $2,600 for now, because now it's not passive. Now I'm getting belly to belly with them, right? Like it's a different thing. So, I would say I probably spent around 25,000 on marketing, but as Brian said, you don't have to spend anything. Or very little. I know somebody that when they started out, he's a very big agent here at EXP, but I'm not going to call him out, but he dressed up as a bunny for Easter and went around door knocking, and I think he gave out like eggs to like a little egg filled out with stuff, and that was his marketing. You can get creative on this stuff and do things very inexpensively. Somebody else had another question here, and I don't want to miss it. And it's kind of a shift, but does anybody have an ISA, and how are you utilizing them if you do? I'm going to just throw that out there to anyone. Does anybody have an ISA here? Brian, Sarah, Elizabeth?
I don't. I just have a TC, but she's just transaction based. I don't have anybody else that helps with that.
I don't have one either.
Brian?
I have somebody right now that's doing basically part-time ISA work for me.
Jesse, an ISA is an inside sales associate, so they will call leads, set appointments, and that sort of thing. A TC, transaction coordinator, just for some of you that are a little newer, that's what those are. I used Agentology for a little while, and then I stopped. When I went to referral only, I had no more need for an ISA, but it sounds like Brian's the only one that utilizes one. Is it somebody you have in-house or somebody that you hire per, Brian?
Well, I actually have both. I have some services outside my team that do make follow-up phone calls on my database just to nurture them. There's a lot of different services companies out there that do this. I'm actually testing a new company on this in particular. And then I do have somebody in-house too that is following up and doing circle prospecting, especially when we have certain open houses or certain listings we want people to know about too.
Awesome. Thank you. Somebody else asked how we track these efforts. I don't know about you all, but I track it by if I get business from it, and if I don't, I stop. I'm not a numbers person. I think you need to know your disc profile to understand how you are and leverage what you are not. Sarah, do you track any of these efforts?
To the best of my ability, it is just me. I don't even have an assistant right now, so sometimes things get muddled a little bit. But usually, whenever I do get a phone call, I will ask them, "How'd you hear about me?" or "Where did it come from?" And I will track that, and I just keep it on Google spreadsheets as to where my business is coming from.
How about you, Elizabeth? Do you track any of like your events? And if you get, I'm pretty sure I know the answer to that, but do you track any of that?
No, I mean, I have everything in a spreadsheet of what I've done each month and who received what, just because if I duplicate that and I have new people that have come in. But my database isn't all that big, and it's very hard with what I'm doing because I'm doing passive marketing to track it. But I know that because of my consistency, I mean, there's a NAR statistic out there. I teach on this all the time. I was teaching marketing to your sphere this week, but there's a NAR statistic that 83% of agents don't stay in touch with their database or their past clients. So I take advantage of that, and I stay in touch with mine, and my business grows because of it.
How about you, Brian? You seem like the more numbers kind of guy. Do you track everything?
I like to think I do, but it's never the way I really want to have it tracked. Maybe I'm just a perfectionist on this, but I'm always looking for more numbers and more data than I actually have. And sometimes it's hard to actually track certain sources. Um, so advice for everybody here, if you're getting into marketing, make sure you can track it and you know the exact numbers. And especially with all programs people are trying to sell out there to real estate agents, look for statistics on it, because so many times where agents are signing up for programs, and me included, that there just weren't enough statistics on it to show the success rate of it, or what's the dollar spend per dollar earned. This goes back to a decade ago with Zillow, when the amount of money spent to just get a Zillow lead and convert it was just ridiculous overall, and where that money could be spent better. Most people didn't know any other choices. So, I like to track my numbers as much as I can. But there's a lot of numbers that I just cannot get enough of that I'm constantly searching for.
All right, thank you. We're coming close. We've got maybe about 13 minutes left here. So I want to ask a question about when you feel like what's limiting your success. So for me, I have a lack of systems because I'm not a systems person. I try to hire for it, and I'm bad at hiring people, but like I'm bad at systems, and I'm also, it's really hard for me. And for those of you that know me, this is going to probably come as a surprise. I try to come from an abundance mentality, but my wiring in my brain is a glass half empty. That is the wiring in my brain. So every day I have to train myself to, not only is my glass not half empty, my cup runs over, and I'm blessed. So that's what limits me. It's my own mindset. I would love to hear from you all what sometimes limits you. Sarah?
Well, going back to right now, like I said, I don't have an assistant, so I am trying to wear all the hats, and sometimes it gets a bit overwhelming. My application pool in my area is almost zero, so I just have to learn how to delegate. And I usually use my title company and my lenders a lot as well. I have very good relationships with them, and once I do get something under contract, I hand it off, and a lot of times they will handle a lot of the phone calls and things that need to be made. So I just utilize my third-party people to help me kind of stay on track.
What about you, Elizabeth? Is there anything that you feel like holds you back?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I do not have all my systems in place. And if I get busy, I've just hired somebody to help me with marketing part-time, just the logistics of it and actually doing it, because what we've been doing all these months and years is I line up all 4 of my kids at the bar, and they all stamp and stuff and label and do everything. And so, I mean, that's great, but it's just not very efficient use of the time. And so I'm being much more reactive because I get so busy in business that I'm in my own way. So I'm trying to implement things this year to help. But again, I'm tiptoeing into this marketing assistant. I only have one for, he's only part-time because I'm afraid to commit because I don't know if it's going to be worth the investment, right? So as soon as I start seeing it, taking some things off my plate, I'll be able to dive in a little bit more. But yeah, I have, being reactive is my downfall, and I've been way too reactive lately.
Thank you for sharing that. What about you, Brian?
Oh boy. I do my best to put everything into a system, and because I know I have only so much capacity, emotionally, physically, spiritually, whatever it is, I only have so much capacity to handle what's going on around me. So if I can just put it in a system, it's just in a routine, it's in a habit of whatever that may be. Developing the smallest of habits is so crucial for me. Um, it all can fit. It all fits into the schedule. It is not all fitting into my schedule at the moment because I'm changing things within my business. So the biggest limiting factor for myself is myself. And yeah, myself getting in the way and making sure that I surround myself with the right people, I think is so crucial too. I'm a big fan of the Jim Rohn quote, "You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." So I try to make a conscious effort and decision of who am I hanging out with? Who am I spending time with? What thoughts am I putting into my head? Because I tend to pick up other things fairly quickly from other people, that good and bad. So I think myself is the biggest factor in getting in my own way, and I need to do that by making sure I'm surrounded by the right people that are in alignment with what my goals are. And if I can put something into a system so that I don't have to think about it that much, it's just in a system, a habit, routine, it makes life so much easier.
To
Thank
add
you
to
for
that,
sharing that.
too, real quick, I say yes to a lot of things. People, I've been at EXP a long time. People know me in my market. I mean, people are always calling me and saying yes. I'm saying yes all the time. And I've realized that you don't always have to say yes. So on my vision board this year, it's to say no to more things that are a distraction and be more focused and intentional on what's going to focus and help with my business and help building us up as a company. Instead of just saying yes to anybody that comes by because they know that I'll step up and raise my hand.
Oh, I have that same syndrome. We have about 8 minutes left. So if you all have questions, go ahead and put them down in the bar. And in the meantime, I want to ask you all, what is your favorite thing about EXP? Sarah?
It's everything. I wish I had found this company years ago. I came from Remax, and EXP is so much more agent centered. I can't believe, it's just hard to believe anyone would work anywhere else. So the amount of support that you get from other agents, and everyone's willing to share, and everyone's willing to tell you their stories and how they do things. And so it's just been, this company is just phenomenal.
Well, we're glad you're here. What about you, Brian?
Um, One of the favorite things about EXP is just the opportunities. I mean, there are just so many opportunities. And to run your business, to run a real estate business, however you'd like to run it, whether you want to do, there's just so many opportunities. That's what I like about this. Stock, agent attraction, just different things within production, the resources within the world, workplace. Oh my gosh, the stuff within workplace is phenomenal. Um, there's just so much here. Um, just knowing which I feel like EXP is a buffet. I'm going to use this Curtis Dixon use this example with in a conversation I had with him. It's like a buffet, just trying to figure out what's the best thing to eat at the buffet. It's so awesome. So I just love all the opportunities that are available to EXP agents.
Amen. Elizabeth, what's your favorite? Because you've been here a very long time now.
Yeah, I'm the same. There's so many things. EXP changed my business in a big way. It's taught me how to work smarter, not harder. I learn from all of y'all every day, but I think hands down, the thing that drew me to EXP originally and the thing that I just love the most is our leadership. I've never encountered leadership quite like what we have. And And we're very, very, very blessed. Our founder is one of the most humble people you will ever meet. We've got, Stacy Onnen and Dave that work really well together as co-presidents. We've got our CMO, Mitch Robinson, and his team, and just Brad Anderson and Jim Bramble, and all these people that we have that are truly agent obsessed and focused on us. It's unbelievable. So I love everything about EXP. There's so many things, and you know what? We're growing quickly. We're doing things nobody else has done. Are there going to be bumps? Absolutely. You should have seen the bumps when there were 400 agents when I joined. But I just love what we're doing, and I know that our leadership has the right intentions and has the right vision, and so I'm all in.
Yeah, I love that we're all incentivized to help each other. I've never been a part of a brokerage, and I was with a really family-friendly brokerage for a very long time, but we're all incentivized to help each other. And I've called Elizabeth and said, "Can you talk to so and so for me?" And I've called other people in my own market. Like, I can't run these comps, but because we're in each other's downlines and such, everybody helps each other, and I just find that to be very unique. We have 4 minutes and I have several questions. So these are going to be rapid answers. Can you name a good podcast? Brian, do you have a podcast that you like?
I do not have a podcast that I listen to or that I can recommend off the top of my head.
What about a book?
Oh, books? Oh, I can go with that all day long. um, One of the best books I can recommend, one book to everybody here, it would be The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. Jack Canfield wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul series. So a lot of entertaining stories in there. It's not only practical for business, but your personal life too. These principles are just, I teach this also, and it's just something that I'm very passionate about. Like I said, it can help in your personal life and your professional life. It's a great book to put into practice for just life. And I wish people would learn this stuff at a, high school and junior high level, because I think it could change people's lives incredibly.
Thank you. Sarah, quickly, is there a podcast or a book that you can recommend?
I listen to a lot of Ricky Carruth, and I know he is a Remax agent, but he is very good if you are needing scripts or you're wanting to know how to call for sale by owners or expireds. I follow him. I also listen to Super Agents Live. I believe Toby is an EXP agent, so those are a couple that I follow.
Elizabeth, podcast or book?
Oh, podcast, you guys will think I'm nuts because it has to do with serial killers, so nothing real estate related. But so book, I would say Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek. I love him. He's an amazing author, and I just love anything he writes.
I'm listening to one by him right now, something on marketing. Lisa, if you reach out to Dustin Brohm, he is with EXP, Brohm. He can give you all the information about starting a podcast. He's helped me. I have to still do it, but he's full of knowledge when it comes to that. And Brad Anderson there said he would chat with you about it too. So make sure you connect. We have 2 minutes left, and I think I had another question here. Let me just I was going to say roll out like ludicrous. Roll on up here and see what that other question was.
What was his name again?
Dustin Brohm,
Dustin.
D-U-S. Yeah, Dustin. What do we have here? Some people are putting in their favorite podcast. Oh, are you all connected? This is our last question since we only have 2 minutes. Are you guys connected with your current and past clients on Facebook? And are you using Facebook to increase your referrals from your sphere? Elizabeth?
I'm very private with Facebook. If I don't know somebody, I don't put them in there. And I usually don't put my clients in there unless they're very, very close friends. But no, I have a business page that I'll let them come onto, but not necessarily my personal page.
Okay, Sarah?
I'm the same way. I like to direct people to my business page, and I try and keep my personal life a little bit more private.
Brian?
Oh, I'm marketing. I put it all out there, but I don't put that much personal stuff on my Facebook page, but everything else on Facebook. And if I can connect with my past clients, book a business, sphere of influence, all those things, I will do that. And I have several different systems that different paid leads and paid ads also on Facebook and other social media sources to connect with people.
And my rule of thumb is if they friend me, I'm not going to say no. So I put them in there. Or if we're done with the transaction, then I'll add them. But I have a very close relationship with these people. A lot of them become friends. That's just how it works. We are wrapping up here. Brian, if you would type in there your book recommendations, somebody wanted to know what that was. So if you'll type it. Y'all, thank you for joining all of us. Brian from Illinois, Sarah from Missouri, and Elizabeth from Texas. I am Shannon from Richmond, Virginia. And I'm sure I speak for all of us that if you have any questions, just shoot, hit us up on Workplace, and we wish you the best and hope you have an awesome weekend.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, Shannon.
Great
Thanks
job,
for
Icon.
joining.
Great
Thanks,
weekend.
Shannon.
Love
Thanks,
you
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Elizabeth.
I heart icons.